Well, good afternoon. This is Mike Holt, and we are on the Premier Power Show. And we have, of course, the three of us here. And the second person I want to introduce to is going to be Michael Holt, the owner of Premier Power Incorporated. Michael, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hey, guys. Good afternoon. It's glad to be here. The half hour with Premier Power.
Oh, I like that. Okay. And then we have Belinda Pinto, and she is my daughter, and Michael is my son. And Belinda, you want to say hi to the audience here?
I'm excited to be back.
All right, this is our second show, and I'll just do a little quick recap from the first show, which was last Thursday. And last Thursday, we talked about home safety inspections. I had a home safety inspection done this week. Michael, after our home safety inspection discussion last week, I said, hey, son, come over to my house and do some inspection. You want to just tell them?
That's right. We had a home inspection about 2 days ago at your house. We actually recorded a video while we were doing it. And we checked all the outlets, the GFI breakers in your panel. We checked the GFIs in your bathroom.
Okay, and we'll talk more about that a little later on.
Sure.
But, yeah, we did do a video. All right, today, and let me just do a quick review about last week. Home safety inspection, the areas that in the time somebody should be. Michael, do you want to give us some recommendation? When should somebody have a home safety inspection, as we discussed last week?
If you haven't had an electrician over a long period of time, so the age of the house.
Okay, so.
Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? At what point should you be getting your electrical checked?
I'm going to say, Dad, you want to jump in here?
Well, okay. Well, you know what? It all depends on the application. If you have a very old home and it's never been inspected, you don't have any new electrical work done, it's not something you should be, that's something you should be concerned about. It's a very difficult thing to judge. It depends upon how old the home is, and maybe you got a new home you're going to be buying and you're not quite sure of the wiring of that situation.
Okay, so if it's a new house, I want to definitely get you in to check it if I'm moving in. But if I've been there for 7 years and it's a new home, not as much of a need. But if I'm living in an old house, I remember there was a caller last week that had an 80-year-old home. For sure, now when we say old, is 25 years, 30 years, at what point do we want to make sure that wiring is checked?
Well, when you have some houses have old wiring, there's no ground on the receptacles, and the material could be made out of, let's say, conductors of a rubber insulation. So there is no hard decision to make, but you can tell if you feel uncomfortable at your house.
Okay.
If you're buying a new house, and particularly today with the foreclosures and the short sales that are taking place, a lot of times wires been pulled out, and you're not quite sure what's going on. It's probably a good idea when you buy a new house, when you're buying a home that's an existing home,
sure,
to have that taken a look. If you have an older home in an old neighborhood, it'd probably be a good idea once in a while to take a look at that.
Okay. There was something that I wanted to ask you about last time when you were talking about the home inspections, and if it was a house. There was something with Chinese drywall, wasn't there, years ago?
We didn't talk about that, but Chinese drywall really primarily happened in, let's say, the Tampa area.
Okay.
And so it has a sulfur oxide that would be as a fume. So we're okay in this area here.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
You don't have to worry about that like that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about today's topic, and it's going to be about GFCIs. And I know that what I'm trying to do, I'm the electrical expert. If you get a chance, go to MikeHolt.com. You get to know who I am. And Michael is the electrical contractor. He's the one that's the practical person here that we talk more about that. And Belinda, you're the person here that represents the consumer because you don't know anything about electricity.
Yeah.
And so GFCIs, and we're going to be talking about that. And these are, and let me make sure before I go further, if you go to make a phone call at 352-787-9523. You can give us a call and ask us any of your home safety questions. You can also, if you don't feel comfortable getting on the radio, you can go ahead and text us at 352-978-7015, and that's Michael's Premier Power's phone. So you can go ahead and call Michael right now and text him. We can't take the phone calls on his cell phone, but he can get the text message. Or if you happen to be by a computer, you can go ahead and email us your questions to Michael at PremierPowerInc.com.
Now, when you say home safety, it's specifically, we're only talking about electrical today. So if there's any electrical questions that you've had about your home, about anything happening with being shocked or anything like that, that would be the kind of questions to call on.
That's what we're talking about. All right, GFCIs. A GFCI, some of you might have heard this term, probably many of you have not. A GFCI, that's an acronym for Ground Fault Circuit Interrupter. It's a technical product, and what that product works on is, I think many people are familiar with fuses, the older homes, or circuit breakers. Fuses and circuit breakers are designed to protect the wiring and the equipment, and it's designed to protect you against fires. It's not designed to protect you against an electric shock. So back in the early 70s, starting in 1971.
Wait, before you go any further, I just had a quick question. You said GFCIs. Is this something that everybody has in their home? We're talking about GFCIs. Tell me a little bit more before you start telling me about the details about it. Is this something I have in my home that everybody has in their homes?
If I can cut in there for a second, GFCIs are the outlets that are installed near water. So, for example, your kitchen has GFCIs, your bathrooms have GFCIs. Any outside receptacles are GFCI protected. So
when you say outlets, that's where we plug.
Oh,
that's
yep, a
where we plug
receptacle.
in.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So you're saying that there's special receptacles near bathrooms, near the outdoors, you said?
Yep.
And then,
They're sensitive electronic devices to protect you from from electrical shock.
okay.
See,
If you
breakers.
come in
Go ahead, son.
If you come in contact with water, that's the key there. And GFIs don't only come in the form of a receptacle, but they're also in a breaker in your panel as well. So there's different applications or installations as well.
Okay, so these are things that are in our homes, and so you're going to give us a little bit more detail about how they work and how they keep us safe.
Kind of, yeah, kind of no, because, see, GFCIs are a new technology. It started in 1971, and it started in swimming pools, and then in 73, it started with outside receptacles. 74 was construction sites. 75 with bathrooms. 1987 started kitchens, and they moved up to garages. So there's been every so many years additional requirements. So you have a home that was built in when? 2005?
2005. Yeah.
2005. It would probably have all of the GFCI requirements that are currently required in 2011. So if you had a home built prior to 1971, you don't have any GFCI. Now, we haven't talked about what is a GFCI, but whatever it is, you have them. I have them because my home is more new. And some people who have a house built before 1971, they would not have them.
Okay.
Now, a GFCI is to protect you against electric shock.
Okay.
It's a little, if you'll, and people who have them will know, because you go to your bathroom and you'll see a receptacle and there's a test and a reset button on the receptacle, right on the face.
Right.
Or it'll be in your kitchen,
Uh-huh.
your garage, your outside receptacles. So those receptacles would have a test button. As Michael said, though, they won't only be a receptacle. They could be a circuit breaker.
So
Oh,
those,
Wesley, have we got a question? We got a caller?
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question, Mike. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. What if I'm in a home that's built in 70s,
Right.
maybe I think it's before 71, what have you, and I don't know, even though you've done a great job explaining, I don't know if I have these GFCIs. Can I just call you and maybe you'll help me over the phone, or if need be, come out and help me and say, this is one, this is not one, you're up to code, you're not up to code, whatever?
The key here is, yes, of course you can do that, but the best way a person can do, you go in your bathroom and you look at the receptacle. If that receptacle looks like the receptacle you have everywhere out in your house, then you don't have GFCI. If you go in your kitchen and all the receptacles, they all look the same and there's no test and reset button, you don't have GFCI.
It's like a little black and a little red button. then,
It's
right?
black and red.
Okay, good.
And sometimes in my house, I have them, both of them they're cream colored. There's no difference in color. So, and it'll say test and reset. And those test and reset buttons are supposed to be pressed and test monthly. And the reason, so assuming if you built in 1971, you don't have any shock protection in your house. It's just not there. And then,
so these are particularly to protect you against getting shocked when you're plugging something in?
right, all it does is protect against shock. In other words, if you're in your kitchen and you happen to touch a refrigerator and then you touched your sink and there was a failure in your refrigerator, well then since you touch your sink, which is metal, and then you touch your refrigerator, then you would get shocked. And possibly you could even get electrocuted. Electrocuted means you died, okay? A GFCI would have sensed that electricity went out of the power supply, but it didn't come back the way it was supposed to.
The original way.
The original way. It's designed to go out on one wire and come back on the other wire, but it didn't. It went out on one wire, and part of it went through you. So it senses the imbalance. Something is not right. The electronics say, see, it's electronic. A fuse and a circuit breaker is more mechanical,
Okay.
where a GFCI is electronic. And we live in Florida. High incident of lightning, right? Mm-hmm. The lightning capital of the United States is in pretty much close to where we're at here. lightning has a problem and it causes failures of electronic equipment. See, lightning creates this explosive magnetic field. And this explosive magnetic field, and I'm sure Mike here at your show here, I mean, you got all kinds of electronic equipment. You got surge protection. You got problems. I'm saying you have equipment that's gotten destroyed because of a lightning event outside.
Absolutely.
So GFCIs are electronic devices that are looking for these little electrons that are not traveling the way they're supposed to travel. And the result is it senses it and it opens it.
So it sounds like in the 1970s, they recognized people were getting shocked and electrocuted with their swimming pools first. So that's where it started. And then they started recognizing that these are the most dangerous areas in the house for shock.
Well, you think
wet
about
areas.
Think about it. You're in a swimming pool and you got 120 volts. It's not a good plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as Michael said, GFCIs are required where there's wet locations and electricities, kitchens, bathrooms. We're going to talk about why GFCIs fail and the failure rate that takes place when we get right back from lunch. I'm sorry, right from our break or your lunch, depending on how it works. All righty. Thank you. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Okay, we're back. So just in case you weren't there in the first quarter of the hour, we're talking about GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter protections. It's an electronic device designed to protect you against electric shock. How do you know if you have it or not? The easiest thing, you can call Premier Power at 352-978-7015, and Michael from the owner can go ahead and walk you through that. Or you can walk around your house and take a few minutes and just see if they're there. If they're not there, you might want to call Premier Power at 352-978-7015 and maybe have them come over there, take a look at it and do it. Now, one of the problems with GFCIs is they fail because of high surges caused by lightning. The failure rate is 1 out of 8. Michael, can you tell us where that report is available, where the people can get that?
Yes, it's in the NEMA book here, and I'm looking through it, so it's going to take me a couple minutes. I'm not ready yet.
And it's available where?
It's available on my website, at premierpowerinc.com under important information on the link of GFCI's failure rates. So if you go online, premierpowerinc.com, important information under GFCI failure rates.
So if you want to know what is the failure rate of GFCI, is a technical document, as Michael described. Hey, before I forget, those of you that are listening to this show, give us a call. We're going to do a random event that if you call us up and ask us a question, we're going to give you a free home inspection at no charge. That's why it's free. So we'll be glad to come by there and take a look at your house and just make sure that your home is going to be safe. So give us a call with your question. But Michael, I think, and by the way, the call is 352-787-9523. That's my 790 AM. Give us a call at 352-787-9523. Ask us your questions online, and then we can go ahead and get you a free home inspection. We'll put you in a pot and see what we have. Now, also, you can email Michael at premierpowerinc.com his questions, or you can text him at 352-978-7015. And Michael, I think you got an email question?
We do. We have an email that came up, and this is from Jessica, and she lives in an old house. It's about 60 years old, and there are existing outlets that do not work. Now, I'm reading this from the email she sent me. What we have done to work around that is we have an extension cord with multiple outlets plugged into one outlet. Is that bad to have multiple things plugged into one outlet? For instance, the entertainment center or a fish tank or the computer. One thing I'm terrified about is that my dog's being trapped in the house if there's a fire. So overloading the outlet device and plugging in multiple cords and extension cords.
Well, that's a really great question. It really is, because there's a lot of homes, a lot of people need receptacles or power where it's not a receptacle, and so they have these extension cords. You have a cord that you plug into a receptacle, and there's a power strip. So, Jessica, if you have a receptacle, you plugged in a device that has a power strip, and you have everything plugged into the power strip, it is specifically listed and identified to be used in that application. Extension cords, however, are not designed to be installed in a home for any kind of permanent wiring. That would be like temporarily you want to plug an extension cord in.
Like for Christmas trees.
Yeah, a little extension for Christmas. It's a temporary type of application. So if you don't have a receptacle where you need power, and you don't have one of these power strips, I guess we could call them there, but you're having an extension cord, that is a serious hazard. I know some people have children and some people have animals, and the love is going to be the same about that. So you're very much concerned about your family, you're concerned about your pets. You should not be having extension cords in your house at all.
So what can you do in that case?
What you need to do, really, Michael, you want to tell us what to do?
if you have multiple items you want to plug in, you only have so many outlets, you want to get a hold of an electrician in Lake County, and we can take care of that. We come out and we would expand that box and add multiple devices. So,
But if I don't have a receptacle where I need
You
it.
could add more receptacles?
Absolutely, yeah. You can pretty much add an outlet almost for all practical purposes anywhere you want to have it
Okay.
at. So we would take that one and maybe just expand it and have 2 outlets. That way you're not overloading anything and everything is nice and plugged in smoothly.
Surprisingly, it really doesn't cost that much to get an electrician out there to put in a receptacle or two.
Okay.
In the long run, it might be a lot cheaper than having the hazard or the concern. The stress. Why be stressed out
Well,
about?
why be unsafe in your home? I mean, that's
and even
my
being
whole
unsafe.
thing.
You know what I mean? So you got to be careful there.
Now, you were saying that with the GFCIs that sometimes we might not have it. We should go around, look for the receptacles. You said in the bathroom, the kitchen, outside, and they have the little toggle. There have been times where I've put my blow dryer in, and it won't turn on.
Well, you know
Is that
what?
because the
Well,
GFCI, someone said it's tripping. What does that mean? Why would I plug my blow dryer into the receptacle and then I press that little button that's on that receptacle and then it works?
Well, because it had tripped. So when you plug the hair dryer and it didn't work, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And you press the button,
Yeah,
and now
and
all
then
of a
it
sudden
works. Yeah.
That means that the GFCI had tripped for
Okay.
some reason
Okay.
previously. But then when you plugged it in, there was no power. Then you pressed the button and it worked.
Okay.
Which means that doesn't indicate that it's a problem.
Okay.
But there is a little question, well, why did it trip in the first place?
Right.
So that's I would say if it trips once in a while, well, a lightning event outside can cause strange things to happen to electronics.
I didn't know that.
So, because, see, lightning creates a magnetic field, and it's the magnetism that we use to create electricity.
So even if it's not hitting my house,
Right.
if there's lightning outside, it could affect things?
There are a lot of things that lightning does, not hitting your house, that will affect the inside wiring. That's why we're not into this topic, but that's called surge protection.
And you're going to talk about that another time.
At another time, we need to talk about surge protection because you have flat screen TVs, you have electronics, you have sound systems, you have all kinds of things in your house. Right here, Mike, here in your show here, Gator Mike, you got all kinds of things here. I'm sure you guys really, really, really have surge. Am I right about that, Mike?
Absolutely. If it wasn't for surge protection, we might be down. We haven't gone black since 1940 something. So
So you're
we have
serious
surge
about.
protection.
So in a home, all your electronic devices, they can only take so much energy.
I got it.
A lightning event creates this magnetic pulse. Have you ever worried about maybe somebody attacking us and exploding some kind of bomb over the United States, creating a magnetic pulse? And there's a big concern. Even the sun has all these
solar flares?
These solar flares that creates a magnetic field, and sometimes it just takes out all kinds of electronic
So the
equipment.
GFCIs may not work properly if there's lightning going on?
No.
because-
What happened is a lightning event could destroy the
Oh,
electronics.
I see what you're saying.
And it could destroy the electronics and
So
anything.
it could be working in my house, and then we could have a big lightning storm, and then it doesn't work anymore.
Well, yes, and two things can happen. A lightning event could cause it to trip. And it didn't damage, just caused it to trip. And like, wow, how come it didn't work? Well, it tripped. Other ways, lightning could actually destroy the electronic. And you want to hear the worst news about all of this? If you have a GFCI and you press a test and the reset button and it works, then you should be okay. If you don't press a test and reset button, you don't know it's okay. If the GFCI fails, it fails so that you always have power, meaning you have no electrical safety protection.
I
So let me
see.
repeat that again. GFCIs are designed to protect you from shock. If they fail, then it cannot protect you from shock.
But there's still electricity going to that outlet.
But they're designed to continue to give you power.
I see.
So the only way that you know that you can be safe is to go to the GFCI, press the test and the reset button, and make sure that it is functioning.
And the purpose that they required that was so to protect homeowners from electric shock.
Well, it's now even in commercial buildings, outside receptacles, commercial buildings. If you go into a bathroom anywhere in a commercial building, you'll see the test and reset button. Why? Electricity and water.
Okay.
Garages, outdoors. So I guess the point I'm trying to bring here is that you should have them in your home. Bathrooms. Let's review it. Bathrooms, kitchens, garages, outdoor spaces, swimming pools. You want to have them, and you want to test them. So if you don't have them, call Michael at Premier Power, Inc. Give him a call at 352-978-7015 because then you need to replace them.
And that's what the home safety electrical inspection was that you were talking about.
Yes.
That's one of the things that are covered in addition to other things.
Yeah, the big picture is home safety. What would Michael do? First thing he's going to do is see, do you have GFCIs? And if you do have GFCIs, are they any good?
Got it.
And that's where Michael comes as the expert. Michael, you did it quickly. I know we only got a minute or two left. You did a home safety inspection where this week?
At your house 2 days ago.
At my house.
And out of the 5 outlets we checked, 2 of them were failed. They didn't work. I mean, they were providing power, but they had no protection.
So at my personal house.
What do you do then, Michael?
You remove and replace the device.
Okay.
Doesn't cost that much.
So once you're there, if you're doing the inspection, you could replace that right then and there?
Yep. You know, on our trucks, we try to keep a large inventory of a wide variety of items, so that way we're prepared for it. So in this case, yes, we were going to remove and replace them.
So you just take the receptacle out. But also, one of my receptacles didn't even have a ground. So this can grow into a big deal.
I have a question for you. I've heard about people replacing, Michael, their own receptacles. You know, they do it themselves. They're like, you know, that's dangerous, isn't it?
Well, as a homeowner, you're allowed to do anything you want because, you know, you're allowed to be your own contractor. Some people are knowledgeable. It's recommended that if you're working with electrical power, because of it's so dangerous and it's important, you have a licensed and qualified electrician come out there and service the equipment.
See, here's the problem. You got 3 wires and you got 3 terminals. So that gives you, 9 different ways you can screw it up?
I see.
I don't know if that works that way or not. So you don't want to be replacing receptacles. If you reverse 2 receptacles, I told the story last week where a husband had killed his wife and his daughter in the water because he'd miswired a receptacle.
Wow.
So give a call to Michael at 352-978-7015. All right, thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next Thursday at 1 o'clock on My 790 AM.